Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
The Continental Classic continues. The devil has his way, and two best friends. Well, since we've watched wrestling collide in the main event. No, I'm not talking about me and Dave. I'm talking about Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. But that is what we're going to be talking about on the AEW Dynamite review. And as you can see or hear to the left of my screen as I'm looking, the very tired, weary-looking problem child, Dave Robertson, is here. Dave, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, man. I'm all right. Winter as a heating engineer is particularly challenging. And when you got a new baby and an extension as well going on, there's a lot in that mixer. But no, I'm good, mate. I really enjoyed Dynamite. I think AEW are in a decent run at the minute, kind of going under the radar a little bit because of obviously all the fanfare in WWE and WWE doing so well. But I think AEW are churning out some pretty good weekly television and wrestling at the minute. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what you thought of Dynamite last week as well.
Yeah, we'll certainly get into that shortly. But first, let's just talk a little bit of news before that. Some good news for a change with this. Maybe some bad news. Let's start with the bad news. Looking like potentially losing Andrade next year by the sounds of what's going on. Looks like he's going back to CMLL and then potentially back to WWE. Obviously a huge loss, but is this going to be kind of what we're going to be expecting now on both sides? I mean, obviously, potentially, Drew McIntyre over to AEW, maybe Sheamus. Are we going to be seeing now this over the next few years?
I think so. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth, to be honest. There's only so many spaces at the top, and I don't think Andrade's booking has been great in AEW, to be honest. I think his matches have been very good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that, inability to cut a real good, concise promo in English that holds him back a little. His English is pretty good, but obviously it's not as fluent as the American wrestlers there. So maybe that is something that why he doesn't get that main spot, but his talent, you could definitely have him as world champion, in my opinion. And I think you've got CJ as his mouthpiece. So we'll see how that goes over the next few months. It'd be a massive loss and a blow to AEW. But yeah, like you say, I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth. I think whether it's Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, I think because that competition is there now, and there's attractive offers from both sides, from WWE to AEW stars and vice versa. And then you got Impact in the mix, or would soon to become TNA again. You got the New Japan prospect as well. And again, for the Hispanic wrestlers, CMLL. So it's a really good time to be a wrestler, I think. There's a lot of options out there. But as a big AEW fan, I hope Andrade sticks around. I hope this run that he's on at the minute and his partnership with CJ, I hope that goes somewhere and establishes himself at the top of the card. He should be in world title matches. He should be around that, but there's only so many spots there, isn't there? There's only so many people that could be challenging for the gold.
Exactly that. I'm not sure. I'm personally not sure whether he'll move back to WWE or stay at AEW. But I agree.
Charlotte's there, obviously. I don't know what's going on with those guys anymore. We did different things in the dirt sheets, but if his wife's in WWE, that's always going to be a potential player. So I don't think he left on bad terms or anything, did he?
Nope.
I can't remember the circumstances around his release, or I don't know if he was out of contract. I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm sure both companies would love to have him. When his contract is up, he'll have options.
Indeed. Let's move into the better news. All in tickets went on sale a little while back. Yes, me and you are both going. 37,000 at last count. Really good, strong start considering how long they're away from All In. Obviously, there is going to be the thing to remember about this one is they are going to be making the stage a bit bigger. I think they've agreed something with Taylor Swift, I think, where they would make it, I think there's more of a portion of the stadium being cut off now. So there'll be a bit less in attendance, but however, 37,000, 8 months before an event is generally pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good for a wrestling show. Anyway, if they didn't sell a single ticket extra, I mean, it might look a bit empty, but 37,000 people is success. I remember people talking about the first All In, and people were thinking they might sell 40,000, and that'd be a huge success. So to sell 37 so far out for the second time as well, when the novelty has worn off a little bit to the degree that it's not the first time. So there'll be people perhaps that invested last year and they might not be able to afford to go the second year. Yeah, that's success. I know they've done pretty good revenue from it as well. Pretty good in terms of ticket sales. £3 million that was being reported in ticket sales. So that's really good for the company. I would like to think we're probably going to be at the 50, 60,000 mark in the run into All In. I don't think we're going to get near the sellout or the 80, 90,000 that was reported last year. But I still think kind of 60,000 would be a huge event.
Yeah, it'll be great for sure. Just reading, as it's Monday, by the way, that we record this is going out on Tuesday. We're just reading on the good old social platforms that we have, and I'm interested because we've got our guest on Thursday, Mr. Bischoff, and he's been talking again, this time about Ring of Honor, and you may want to take this up with him on Thursday as well. I know you got some questions about AEW, but he said on Ring of Honor, if it was a horse, I would put it out of its misery and move on.
Yeah. Well, I can't really offer too much of an opinion on it because I don't watch Ring of Honor. I know that it's seen as kind of the developmental territory for AEW. I don't know if people would agree with that or not, but there certainly seems to be a degree of any guys or girls that they don't really know what to do with. They put them in Ring of Honor until they've got something and they kind of get promoted to the main roster, if you like, of AEW, and they get more opportunities on Dynamite and Rampage. But there's certain performers that we see that are in Ring of Honor, like Athena is the one that screams out to me straight away. Really should be on the main roster, particularly with some of the criticism of the women's division in recent times. I think there's been a lot of good work done with the women's division, and we've talked about the Toni Storm and Skye Blue and others. But I think Athena, it's kind of criminal that she's not on mainstream weekly television on the flagship show. And there's others down there as well. I mean, when Tony Khan took it over, I didn't expect him to kind of relaunch it. I thought he was doing it so he got all the video library, and all the footage and everything like that, and merge any Ring of Honor guys in with his current AEW roster. I'm not sure if that would still be a possibility, but I kind of agree with Bischoff to a degree. I don't know what purpose it's massively serving when you've got three shows. You've got Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage.
Yeah.
Is there enough talent, or is there too much Ring of Honor talent that you could be utilizing for Rampage? I don't know. AEW always cycle performers in and out as well and give them good rest and, bring them back refreshed a few months later. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see the number in terms of the total roster, AEW and Ring of Honor combined, and see if that could be kind of trimmed or streamlined. And just focus on the one product. Again, the Ring of Honor have their own pay-per-views.
Go on, coming up.
I don't know how successful they are. I did read somewhere that the number that they generally do are better than what Ring of Honor were doing prior to kind of going out of business or shutting down the first time round. So I don't know how you measure it really. I don't know how much of a call there is from the Ring of Honor purists that want it to keep going, or whether, as Eric said, you kind of put it down. But yeah, I don't really take offense, or I'm not upset by Bischoff's comment. I totally get it, to be honest. I don't think it is really necessary to have another 2 hours. I think 2 hours a week, is it, Ring of Honor? Plus the pay-per-views, that kind of dilutes the AEW product a little bit. I'd rather get the absolute best AEW we can possibly have, and Tony Khan concentrating just on All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking, you mentioned on their roster, again, just reading, the lot of WWE releases that happened a little while ago, they will be now soon to be able to be snapped up or signed by anybody. So the likes of Ali, Aaliyah, Benjamin, Boogs, Brooke, Dabba-Kato, Elias, Mace, Mansoor, Riddle, Top Dollar, Ziggler will all be ready to sign anyway. Are we going to see any?
I'd like to see Ali.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mustafa Ali. I think he if I could pick one out of that lot that you just read out, he would be my choice. I think there's some real potential great matches.
Yeah,
Um, I think Ali, Buddy Murphy. I'm sure they had a match in 205 Live. I'm sure they've
probably
got
did on main
previous.
event as well.
Made man of it, yeah. There's a number of matches I'd like to see Ali in. Riddle, not sure. I'm not sure that AEW really need the controversy.
Fair enough of that.
Yeah. So I do kind of rate him. I know Andy doesn't. He's got issues with him, but I think he's pretty entertaining and decent in the ring, and I just question the off screen stuff or the backstage stuff. They don't need any of that. I think Dolph Ziggler would be a good fit. Real good pro veteran brothers already with the company. So I could see, Nick Nemeth come into the company as well. I don't think they necessarily need any of them though.
No,
Um, Again, with Ring of Honor and with 3 weekly shows, you would think they'd be able to accommodate a few of them. Are there any of them that you would like to see appear in AEW? Or
you've already kind of hit it. Ali and Ziggler, really. Riddle, I wouldn't mind if you
yeah,
get the because in the extra ring side of Riddles is good.
yeah.
So I wouldn't mind seeing him there. But again, they just don't need controversy at the minute. So perhaps
I've got to be honest. I would like to think that Riddle will sort himself out and he'll end up back in WWE because I think there's unfinished business with the Orton story.
yeah,
I think there's some good stuff there that can be done with Randy. I think that probably that was always the plan. I think there was
yeah.
probably a long-term story for those to kind of have a showdown at some point. Um, so I like kind of for him and as a fan, albeit I don't watch as much WWE at the minute, but I keep up to speed with it through you guys. I think Riddle back in WWE would be a good story if he can sort out his personal issues and get his life back on track.
Indeed. Well, talking about lives back on track, let's get back on track with Dynamite. Opened up Moxley and Roosh in the Continental Classic. I'm sure Moxley's injured in this, but I mean, it was a very, very good match. I did like the match. It was a hard-hitting affair. I don't know if he got injured again, Moxley, but he did feel as if there was slightly something maybe up with him again on this one. I'm not sure though. Roosh gave him absolutely everything he could handle on this one, and eventually Moxley chokes him out with the Bulldog choke, but a really good opening to this. And Moxley's now on 9 points, pretty much confirms that he's near enough, not necessarily winning the group, but there or thereabouts. But a really good beginning to Dynamite.
Really, really hard hitting affair. I mean, Moxley, if there's one guy that deserves a holiday or a bit of a break or to be cycled out by Tony Khan, it's John Moxley. It's probably by his own doing that he hasn't had that break because he just absolutely loves wrestling and loves what he does. But he's looking a bit tired at the minute, isn't he? I mean, I think he's 37 and he looks 47 at the minute. Which a good match. I enjoyed the finish. I enjoyed the fact that Rouge kind of came around just as Moxley's music hit and he started
Yeah.
celebrating. Kind of protected Rouge to a degree, as you know, as anybody that listens to the show knows, I'm a huge Rouge fan. Glad that he's picked up points in the tournament, unlike some of the others. But I think next week we're getting Moxley against Swerve, which they're both on 9 points now, as we'll get to in terms of Swerve's match shortly. But that's a really intriguing. I'm really looking forward to that next week. I'm looking forward to something's got to give. Ultimately, are we going to see a draw in the tournament? We haven't seen any yet. Be interesting to see how that one goes down. But I thought Moxley and Roosh had a great match, and I'd love to see them lock horns again at some point. I thought really hard hitting affair.
Yeah, two guys that complement each other quite well as well. So yeah, really good start. Really nice video package of Jay White and Jay Lethal's Ring of Honor history. And Ring of Honor was showing ahead of their match. And then we get Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
He will no longer suffer the consequences of his decisions. He stands up, throws the wheelchair away, and slams down the mic.
What a line that is. No longer suffer the consequences of his decisions.
Unbelievable. But
I was
still,
laughing a lot through this. I thought it was really funny. I think Roddy lost his way a little bit mid sentence. He lost his train of thought, but I thought this was I'm really enjoying this little trio.
yeah.
I really think the Kingdom have added a lot to it as well. Whether they're part of the Devil or that situation, which I'm sure we'll wildly speculate on shortly, I've got another little suggestion as to who might be involved with that.
Okay.
But I thought it was really good, really funny, really entertaining. I think we got a good match with Roddy coming up next week as well, or on the next Dynamite up against Hangman, which that should be a great match as well. So I think Roderick's doing some of the best work of his career. I don't think he's a natural on the mic,
No.
but he's just found something pretty special, in terms of this character. And he's dedicated his commitment to the character, how he's saying everybody's first name, and he started shouting everybody's first name now, not just Adam. The crowd love him as well. They really kind of react to him. So yeah, I enjoyed this segment.
It was a very funny segment. Then you sort of mentioned Hangman. He come back. He was saying that he was lost to the better man. He couldn't fly because he took that cinder block to the head. And he was interrupted by MJF. Finally, of all people, MJF, and he was saying that Hangman could be the devil, and Hangman responded by saying, "Well, it's probably you." And if he want, and then MJF asked if Hangman wants honesty, and they go eye to eye. But just as they go eye to eye, Samoa Joe appears to break the, just to simmer it down a little bit. But interesting exchange there. And another one, which is what I said about what AEW does well. MJF's injured, but he's the champion for at least another couple of weeks maybe until World's End. They've added another tree and put the Hangman branch in there with Wardlow and Joe and everybody else that wants MJF at the minute.
Yeah. I really, really enjoyed this little, because I think initially it was meant to be MJF's interview segment or interview with Renee. And kind of Hangman came into shot, and had a bit of an awkward exchange with Renee because of his past with Moxley. I thought this was really good, and Hangman kind of talking about the Swerve match and saying why he couldn't travel. I thought that all linked quite well. I like that little backstory and that little loose end that they tied up. In terms of Hangman being the devil, I can't see that. I do like the fact that there's more people in the frame for it, and we can speculate, and there's different theories flying around. I think that's really an interesting thing, and you could make an argument that Hangman could be. MJF, always since AEW started, had been the ultimate heel, whereas Hangman was the ultimate babyface. And obviously in recent times, we've seen MJF for the last 6-9 months, perhaps, establish himself as one of the biggest faces. Yeah. So could Hangman go the other way and become a heel? You wouldn't expect it to. I see him as a big baby face, and I couldn't imagine him as a really an effective heel. I don't think that would work as well. But worse things have happened, stranger things have happened. So yeah, I like that he's in the mix, and obviously MJF was laid out with a beer bottle as well, which people are speculating. Hangman, we've seen him drinking in the past. Yeah. Not necessarily a beer bottle though. So yeah, I like this. I like the fact that, as you say, there's more layers added or more branches have been inserted into the story.
Indeed. We move to the Continental Classic again. Now, interesting in this one, it was Swerve and Briscoe. Briscoe needed to win or he's out. That was the prologue to this one. I mean, this was another fantastic match. Not only that, these two had the crowd eating out of their pocket, and the story was so well told that Briscoe felt like a desperate man, and he was kicking out everything. He was going for covers nearly after sort of every other move, just because he knew he had to get the victory. But Swerve was able to pull off that victory and eliminate. He doesn't eliminate Mark, because Mark still has another couple of matches. You still stay in, even though you're eliminated as such. Yeah. You still have to do your 5 matches. But this was such a great match and such a great story that was told as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I was rooting for Mark, even though I didn't want Swerve to lose either. Yeah, difficult one. The crowd were really with Mark Briscoe as well, wanting him to get that win. And I don't think it's just because even if Briscoe would have won, he kind of got his work cut out for him to win the bracket, win his side of the tournament. But the commentary did a good job of talking about like next year's tournament and making sure that he gives a good account of himself, get some points on the board so that he gets another crack at it next year. So yeah, I think this is really good. I think they perhaps could have introduced some stakes, perhaps into future tournaments. If they had more competitors or if there's more riding on it, like in the darts, so they, or like in football where they've got like a relegation zone and they split the table at a certain point during the tournament, and then the bottom half are competing for something. Maybe, you could have an international title shot or a TNT title shot being competed for, as well as the main Triple Crown. So yeah, something perhaps could be done. So, but I think they've done a pretty good job of making every match feel like that it matters. It's not just about who's winning the tournament. It's about everybody in the tournament as well. So I enjoyed this. I'm glad Swerve won, and as I say, I think it really sets next week up interesting. And we're gonna have a point as well where we got Jay Lethal against Mark Briscoe. So there will kind of still be stakes in that match, if both of those guys are going in with no points.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm looking forward to that. An interesting one about the Continental Classic a minute. It was saying that Danielson come out and said that Omega was offered a part of the Continental Classic, but they never really responded to it. Does that surprise you a little bit? Because I thought you'd been a prime fit for this.
Yeah, I expected Kenny to be involved with the tournament, so not sure why that didn't happen. I don't know if he's dealing with any injuries or anything. Obviously, he was up against Ethan Page on Collision this week, wasn't he? Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to be injured. I was surprised that Kenny wasn't in this tournament, to be honest. And Hangman to a degree, but Hangman had got the stuff going on with Swerve, and there's a lot of competitors in AEW that you could have put into this tournament. Penta, Ray Fenix, that you kind of got an embarrassment of riches. But I think a lot of people were perhaps surprised that Kenny wasn't in the inaugural tournament.
Yeah, so was I. I'm quite surprised. Maybe it'd be in 2024 anyway, with any luck. But Ethan Page looks jacked, by the way. If you haven't seen that match on Cloud, I'm going to review that shortly. It's a very good match. But anyway, let's talk about this Devil. It was Samoa Joe, and then it was meant to be Samoa Joe and MJF with the Devil's Rejects. Lights go out during Joe's entrance. All of them, they come back on, and the arena is surrounded. They go back off again. And all four men are gone. The Devil shows up on the screen, and then lying face down with a bottle over his head is MJF. You've got your thoughts. Explain your latest inkling.
Oh, it doesn't really link into the bottle stuff to me. It's just I don't really like it. You call them the Devil's Rejects, and that kind of sets it up quite well. They don't look particularly strong, do they? I mean, just the way they've been booked the last few weeks, the fact that they kind of appeared at ringside and they didn't get any offense in. It made me think, right? And I still think it's Adam Cole. And whether the goons or the Devil's Rejects, I like that. We'll stick with that. Whether that turns out to be like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and perhaps the Kingdom or Roddy, remains to be seen. But the way that the Devil's Rejects were just appeared at ringside and they didn't get anything in made me think about QT Marshall. Now, I know we reported last week at QT on the way out of the company. Yeah. Could that be a red herring? Could QT be the Devil? Could the QTV cast and crew? So we've got Aaron Solo, you've got Komoroto, you've got Johnny Nitro, Morrison, Hennigan, Elite.
Johnny Elite, isn't it?
So there's kind of a group there that could be the Devil's Rejects, with perhaps QT Marshall getting an opportunity to be one of the main guys. Now, I don't know how that links into the bottle stuff and everything. I don't know. I just couldn't help but to feel that the way those guys were at ringside, it would surprise me if they ended up being like guys like Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy and guys that have kind of been established and have had a good spot in AEW and been in featured feuds. It just made me think that they were kind of backing dancers type of roles, and perhaps the devil is going to be the main, focal point, and it's not so much about the group as it is about the one guy. Or this balloon's just going my face then.
Yeah, that was
I don't know how that happened.
wow. What
Anybody watching the YouTube, I don't have nothing to do with that. I don't know how that happened.
that was sensation.
Yeah.
Never seen
But I don't know. I don't know whether you think there could be anything in that, or whether
Possibly.
or legit that QT is leaving. But obviously he's wanted to be a big star for a while now, and it was kind of caught a lot of people off guard, the fact that he was leaving. So just made me think, could QT be the devil?
Possibly. I'm still thinking that I'm still thinking Wardlow's a part of it somehow.
Yeah, I mean, the runners and riders, I suppose we've got. So if we had QT, we got Hangman that's been introduced. You got Adam Cole, you got Britt Baker, you've got MJF himself, and as you say, people invite. Wouldn't expect Wardlow to be the devil, but perhaps Wardlow is part of it.
I've got one.
Go on.
What if it is the Pinnacle?
Yeah. So
MJF, Dax, Cash, and Wardlow.
And Spears, wasn't it? Yeah.
Spears.
So yeah, that's 5 guys, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's also a burger restaurant as well.
Yeah.
5 guys, but that's a good one. Maybe the Pinnacle.
I like, yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, is it Britt Baker's a good one as well, and obviously in a relationship with Adam Cole. So obviously Adam Cole and MJF best friends. So there's an interesting one there. Britt came out on Twitter last week, not very happy. Was that part of a bigger story, or was that legitimate
Well,
issue?
she'll get fined by Danielson if it was legit, because he does all the discipline stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, apparently so. But it's, we can speculate all night long, but I think what we can agree on is AEW doing a pretty good job with this story and keeping us guessing.
Definitely.
Again, I still, gun to my head, Adam Cole. I've said that from the start. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how it plays out, and I'm pretty sure, as we spoke about last week, we'll find out who the devil is at World's End,
which is 2 weeks this weekend, which will be interesting. It'll be good reviewing that at some point over the New Year's Eve or whenever it will be. Looking forward to that. Toni Storm next, Skye Blue in a women's title match. I mean, I will say this was great. Loved it. There was a good start to Toni Storm's reign. Really good match. Without pun intended, the sky is the limit for Skye Blue on this. And then we see a returning face in Rio has come back out of nowhere. I didn't even know she was going back, to be quite honest with you. Drop kicks like Toni Storm. But this was a really, really good. Sometimes we had those sort of matches where, even Statlander, when she was the TBS one, where the matches just didn't seem to work on even that. This was solid. It worked. It was really, really good. And Toni Storm is still the best character at the moment in wrestling.
Definitely. There's a few funny little spots in this as well, involving Luther, and when she did that wind-up punch as well. And really good, really entertaining. Skye Blue gets better and better. I think she's going to be a huge star for AEW. I really do. She doesn't seem to have a bad match. There's the odd moment where, there's the odd mistake and bits and bits, which is going to happen whoever the performer is. But I think on the whole, her and Julia Hart have elevated themselves so much this year in 2023. Really interesting from a character point of view as well now. We've got that depth. We've got that little bit of a dark side. I'm a big Skye Blue fan, and I think he's a shoe-in to become AEW Women's Champion down the line, perhaps in 2024.
And we've got Jamie Hayter to return yet. I wonder if
Jamie Hayter and Rio. Rio seems to come back every 3, 4, 5 months. We see a little bit of her. She's obviously the first ever AEW Women's Champion. Great performer, typical, the underdog story. Generally, we've seen her up against Nyla Rose and taking on much bigger opponents. But she's a talented wrestler. I've seen some negative stuff online about people's opinion on Rio and perhaps not looking like a wrestler, and people not being able to, not think that she's a credible performer. But I think that's a load of rubbish. I think I think in 2023, wrestlers come in all shapes and sizes, and she's a great performer and a great re-edition. Or I'm not sure what a contract situation is with AEW. I don't know whether she's on a kind of pay per appearance or whether she's under a contract. But yeah, I'm glad to see her back, and I'm looking forward to the match with her and Toni Storm.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see that. And yeah, people on social media will have their opinions. Generally, they're wrong, but that's my view on people on social media. The next match was a really different match in the Continental Classic to the two that we've just witnessed previously. This was a classic wrestling match. Jay Lethal, Jay White. Jay White's a bit younger than Lethal, but they were like veterans in a way. But it was a classic style wrestling match. Wyatt was focused on the body part, which paid off in the end. Really, really good. Jay White picks up the win. The win goes on to 6 points, and even though he did, he did get a he did try for the lethal injection a lot as well. So there was some really good counters in this, but a good classic match for the Continental Classic.
Yeah, I think this is Jay Lethal's best match in AEW so far. Really, really enjoyed it. And when we were talking about Ring of Honor before we started the review, I think this was the perfect use of that Ring of Honor footage and that history. AEW do that very well. And it did add a different ingredient to the match, I suppose, because you had not only had you got that Jay White he's won one match in the tournament, or this was his second win, wasn't it? Yeah. But I think they'd got one win against each other as well in the past. Yeah. Jay White had won one match and Jay Lethal had won one match in their history. So yeah, really, really good wrestling match. And I'm hoping Jay Lethal's inclusion in the tournament wasn't like an accident, and the fact that he's picked up wins against the likes of Jay White in the past, but now in 2023 in the Continental Classic, he is coming up short. I hope he kind of puts that down to in the story his involvement with the likes of Jarrett and Satnam and Sanjay Dutt. Learning the hard way that he's taken his foot off the gas, if you like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
His involvement in that tag. Obviously, he's getting older as a performer, but he's having these great matches, but he just can't seem to get
shifted his focus too much on that and then just took his more in terms of Continental Classic.
Yeah, I hope that plays into it. I hope that plays into Jay Lethal's long-term story. I don't know. It might be just included because he's a great wrestler, capable of having a great match against whoever he's in the ring with. But I would like to see him dig into that a little bit more as to why he's not beating the performance that he has in the past.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting. Speaking of interesting, we head to the main event now. Now, Jesus, in a minute we're going to get onto something, but before that, I mean, this was, we talk about veterans. It was Christian Cage, Adam Copeland. It was TNT Championship. The story and the wrestling in this was absolutely top notch. And again, we're talking about having the crowd in the palm of their hand earlier on. These two had it in absolute abundance. And then we get to Mystic Robinson, who last week predicted that Nick Wayne's mum would cost Edge the TNT, or Edge, Adam Copeland, sorry, copyright and all that stuff. I don't want a cease and detest letter, or whatever it was, a cease and desist, or whatever it's called, letter. The Nick Wayne's mum would cost Adam Copeland the TNT Championship, and lo and behold, that's exactly what happened, Dave. Brownie point, Barry Harwood's pat on the back for you. But this was still a wonderful match.
Really, really good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the stare down at the start as well. Yeah. I think there was a bit of a holy shit moment from the crowd. It was really good. I was kind of disappointed that I predicted it because I never liked to, but in a way she kind of telegraphed it as well, what she was going to do. She was kind of looking at Edge the whole time, looking at Copeland the whole time. But from a story point of view, makes sense why she would do that after what Copeland did to Nick Wayne in the ring last week or the week before last when he hit him with a one-man concerto. And it wasn't like she kind of leapt into Christian's arms and, there was kind of an uneasiness there. You didn't know whether she was going to hit Christian, and Christian's reaction as well was one of what just happened, what's she done, as if he didn't realize she was going to do that, which I think is interesting as well as to, does she become part of the patriarchy? Is she going to be at ringside, part of that, that kind of blended family of sorts of Christian, Shayna Wayne, Nick Wayne, and Killswitch? Quite a family portrait there. But yeah, I want to see what happens next with that. This story is a long way from over. We'll definitely be getting Copeland against Christian again. The story, there's a lot more story to be told, and I think they're doing a great job of telling it. Really, really enjoying it. Some of the best work of Christian's career. I think that is across the board the opinion. But I think Copeland as well. I think this is really, really good, a really interesting story. I'm enjoying his run so far in AEW. There's a lot of dream matches and big matches that I want to see Copeland have before he retires. But I'm really enjoying what he's doing at the minute, and looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Yeah, me too. I loved that match. But it was such a when she come in hit Edge with the belt, I was like, Dave is right now saying that he called it.
Yeah.
Along those
but as I say, I did like the fact that it wasn't just, she just hugged Christian and it was all a ruse. It wasn't. It was kind of, it's happened because she's protective over her son more than anything else. And no matter what Christian has said and done to her and the heinous things he said, it's still a son, and Christian's looking out for his son. So yeah, I just find it really interesting kind of television, as much as it being a wrestling storyline as well. I just think they're doing a great job of telling the story. Yeah,
they certainly did. I enjoyed it. What grade would you give Dynamite this week? Last week, I should say.
I think I'll give it an 8. I think it was a pretty solid show.
Yeah, I agreed. I had it written down as an 8 on my notes here, so we both was in agreement with that. Collision was very good as well. I'm going to get on with that in a minute, and I'll get on touch with it. You, by the way, you've got about another 2 matches left after that match, just so you know where you are. You've got another, and the main event is out of this world. Yeah, it's been a very busy weekend for me, so I haven't caught up yet. No. So yeah, I'm hoping to do so tonight, and I'll listen to your review shortly and see what you thought of it as soon as you post it. But yeah, I think from what I've seen of Collision so far, and again from a very strong Dynamite, a good week for AEW in terms of what they're churning out, and we're moving towards a big show. The first time we've got a World's End pay-per-view coming from Long Island, and it's shaping up to be a really good card, and I'm sure some more matches will be added in the next week. Yeah, me too. I think there'll be a lot more added this week. I also give it an 8 as well, so we look forward to that. You may have seen over the last couple of weeks that a lot of our British wrestlers want the turnbuckle rub. It seems going forward. We announced obviously that the Odyssey, Adonis Payne, and the Crimson Killshot Artemis were going to be joining us. We have re-signed Beers and Beatdowns to a multiple year extension. We've got another re-sign this week. Another offer of sponsorship has gone out the door today. We'll see if that one's going up. We've had a few more acceptances, which we'll be announcing in due course, so everyone will have to keep their eyes peeled for that. I, myself, Rachel, and Chris White from Cupcake Photography will be at Sacrifice Pro Wrestling on Sunday for their show, which we're very much looking. It's called The Big Snow. Nice. Yeah, very, very apt for this time. Christmas wrestling pun. Christmas wrestling pun. You can't beat it. That should be good. Congratulations to everyone at BCCW for their sold-out show on Friday. Everybody turned up, wrestling-wise. Which we'll leave it at that for now, anyway. But yeah, we'll be back with some more. We've got Eric Bischoff Thursday. Dave's got his questions for Mr. Bischoff to have. I hope I don't bottle it. You need to ask him the questions. I've got to ask him in a respectful way. Just why he hates AEW so much, man. Put it in a respectful. No, not that. I want to know. I want to know what he would do differently. The things that he think, the way I think they should move forward without
just trying to imitate the WWE. That's what I want to know.
And he will answer it. There's no question. I don't think there's any question off limits, as long as it ain't a hypothetical one in the sense of what. Well, I suppose it is in a way, but no, it's more like what do they need to do, rather than what would you do? It's what do you think they need to do?
Yeah, what does he think they do well? You know, I like to be a glass half full rather than half empty kind of person, and really concentrate on the positives of wrestling in 2023. Yeah, we've lived through some periods in wrestling where have been pretty bad, you know, and I think the last few years has been fantastic. I think not just AEW coming along. I think that's really brought or coincided with a real upturn for the WWE as well, particularly in the last 18 months since Triple H has taken the helm creatively. I think the numbers speak for themselves. I think AEW is a big part of the wrestling landscape and why wrestling is so popular and doing so well. So, yeah, hopefully, Eric, hopefully we can find some common ground and some stuff to agree on.
Well, you'll be first up with your question, Dave. So you bet there's no bottling it on Thursday, mate. I'm going to get you straight into the deep end with Mr. Bischoff for you. But that's Thursday.
What an honor that will be as well. You know, huge, as you know. I'm a WCW guy. You know, I was into WCW before I was into the WWF.
Yep.
So the opportunity to talk to somebody whose brainchild was the NWO, which has had such an impact on my life. You know, all these years later, I still rock the NWO shirt and chucking up 2 sweets wherever I can. And, you know, a lot of entertainment and happiness has been put into my life from the NWO and from WCW. So to talk to Eric will be a great honor, and really, really looking forward to it.
Yep. Definitely, me too. I'm looking forward to it, doing it again for the second time. It's great fun, and I knew you would jump at the chance to have a chat with Mr. Bishop. But that's Thursday, guys. This is Monday, and as always, as it's AEW Day, I'm going to have to do this for Collision. You know, I've got to do this for Collision. I'm going to have to try and remember it. So please take it away.
Well, it's time to bid you all adieu, goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bang.